is. Oh, that's not a good analogy for vegans, though. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, today is the fourth Sunday of the month, which means it's time for the plant-based Kitchenista, Chef Kelley Williamson, and she's going to be making, just in time for Easter, some delicious, healthy vegan Easter recipes. Please welcome her back to the show. Hi, Kelley. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So what constitutes an Easter recipe? What makes Easter? I'm Jewish, so what makes Easter,
I think it's all about, truthfully, I think it's about family. So I think it's making things that your family like, that want to get around the table and spend time together. So, it could be something that, I guess some people would look at it as like it's a whole big to-do. It's like almost like the other holidays and stuff where you have to make all these things. But I think Easter really is about spending time with family and making sure that, if you have kids that want to do, the egg hunts and things like that, that they have fun with that. So having recipes that are like easy, but actually delicious, and that you could have, ready. And if people they eat a little here and they eat a little there, that's what it's about to me. So that's kind of what I looked at as like having, I love roasted vegetables, and I think that's good any time of the year. But I think adding something that's a little special, maybe it's like the mushroom and leek, and it actually has green peas pie, and it's pretty. I think just adds that little extra kind of festivity and stuff to the occasion.
Nice. And you don't have to do dye Easter eggs, because that's an animal product. Is there something that they can do that's vegan, but give the kids that craft kind of idea?
Yep. You can do, there's all the little, so they've got like little styrofoam eggs that everybody can decorate, because, there's all these things now, like you can get like sequins and fun things like that, or you can even actually paint them. There's plaster Paris, there's that, just the plastic eggs and all that. So instead of, going out and buying that 12 dozen eggs and boiling them up and doing that and having them go to waste, there's also many other things that you can do. Plus, I've seen where actually somebody will take, they put like little bags together, and they'll have like the vegan chocolate and the vegan candies in it, and they'll wrap them up with the bows, and they hide those around, which is really fun too. So I think there's many different ways to experiment and have fun without having to do the eggs.
Yeah, it's weird how all the holidays, like, Christmas and Hanukkah are around the same time, and there's parallels to those holidays. And Easter and Passover both involve hiding something. In Passover, we hide the matzah. It's called the afikomen. It's just so interesting how these traditions get started, and that's what the fun is. It's not about eating a dead animal,
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, my wedding anniversary is on Easter, so we're going to go to my favorite vegan restaurants. It's called Faux Fresh, and he makes SOS free food. So that's what I'll be doing on Easter. So I'm curious what you're going to be making on Easter.
I actually will probably be making a lot of the roasted vegetables. So we'll probably go over to Jerry's daughter. So Jerry's usually with me. He's the plant-based nutritionist, and so she always makes the normal, everything that we don't talk about. So we always do all the side dishes, and it used to be like way back. So probably 15 years ago, we would bring our own things, and then she would make her things for her part of the family. And then she tasted all ours, and she's like, you know what, forget it. I'm not making the sides or anything else anymore. I'm letting you do everything else. And I'll do, if I need to make the ham or the turkey or something like that up for the other family members, then that's what she does. So we will be doing the roasted vegetables. I'll do a really fun dessert. I always make a salad that's usually about this big, and it's about that deep. The reason why is we eat the salad for, whatever we're eating and stuff. But then Dawn, who's the daughter-in-law and stuff, loves to take it. So she takes almost the rest of the salad, packs it up for the rest of the week and stuff, and then loves it. So probably do that. And then I would say probably add a couple more dishes with here. I may make the pie just as a side dish, or I may make like a vegan meatloaf. I may do something like that. I haven't quite figured it out yet. Sometimes we just go way off base and we'll do lasagna, spinach lasagna and salads or something. It's kind of like, for Easter, the way I look at it is, what do you feel like eating? It doesn't have to be specific. It's like, what do you feel like? And then celebrate that.
Nice. Have you ever been to a Passover Seder?
I have not. They actually are having a Passover kind of a dinner over here at our clubhouse and stuff, which I don't know what they're doing. Actually, I think they're having it catered, but no, I've never been. I would love to.
Well, the only reason I say is because you're so creative in creating recipes that I bet you could make some of those very healthy. Things like gefilte fish, matzo ball soup.
Yes.
I bet you could figure out how to do it vegan and delicious. So if you get a chance to go so that you can next year make us a vegan Seder.
We'll do it. That'll be on my goal list.
All right. So what's your first recipe today?
So I'm going to make a mushroom and leek pie. I actually added green peas to it just because I love peas, and some, it's like when it's kind of a casserole pie, peas really hold up really well. So I added that in. But think about this as a base. You've got the mushrooms and you've got the leeks. And let's say you don't have leeks, you can't find them in the store, because that was very difficult here in Colorado this weekend. But if you don't have that, then you can always use, the scallions or onions. But then think about, well, maybe I want to add some broccoli. Maybe I want to add some cauliflower. Maybe I want to add something completely different, potatoes in it. That's what you can do with this. It's like, make it your own, but I'm giving you the base so that you can add all the different ingredients. It's almost like, think about it too. You can make it if you make it for Easter, clean out your refrigerator. So if you have all kinds of different vegetables in there, like your cauliflower, your broccoli, your zucchini, add it all together and put it into the pie. So that's an easy way to make it.
Yum. All
so
right.
the second one I'm gonna do is rosemary roasted potatoes, favorite in the world. Granddaughter absolutely loves these. She says it's like eating candy. So she actually takes the little potatoes and she does them as poppers. So she's always like, anytime you come over, you need to make the rosemary roasted potatoes. And I'm like, I can show you how to make them. She's like, no, just bring them over. So we are going to make those, which is really, really good.
Wait, you have a granddaughter? You don't look old enough.
We do. So she is, well, she's step granddaughter, but she's 19 and she just got back from 8 weeks in Europe with a friend of hers, which gave us all heart attacks, just because, when you're sending two 19-year-old girls into Europe, and they went to probably, I think it was, 20 countries and 2 months or something, but I think they end up going like 16 countries. And it was just like every day you're like, okay, please call us, please text us, please let us know you're okay, because you hear all these stories and things happening. But she did it and loved it, and what a great experience. Did it for under 10 grand. We don't know exactly yet, but that's the money she saved.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. So she's back, which is good. So we're all good about that. And then I'm going to make roasted rainbow carrots with pistachio relish. So it's more about the carrots being roasted and then just adding a little bit of decoration and flavor on the side. So we're going to be doing that, which is a really pretty dish. Once you put that out in front of everybody, I guarantee you they're going to grab the carrots, but at the same time as they're going to be dishing off the pistachio relish. So just things that are a little bit different, and just adding kind of a little bit of, I guess, flair to some of the dishes that may be something that you eat during the day or during the week that you make, but you want to add that little bit extra flair and stuff when you're serving it to friends and family.
Nice. Can't wait to see you make this.
Great. All right. So there's a couple things that I'm going to get started. So I've got the rosemary, I've got the roasted potatoes. So what I did yesterday, because they usually take about 45 minutes to roast up in the oven, and we only have an hour today with each other. So I didn't figure you wanted to spend from like 9 to noon with me. So what I did yesterday is I just steamed up the potatoes. So they're just the little fingerling potatoes. You can grab, any type that you want, but you want them like the little small, almost like bite size. Cause like I said, these are, as the granddaughter says, these are like poppers. And so she grabs them and just eats them right out of the dish. So I kind of mixed the red potatoes, yellow potatoes in here. So it just adds a little bit of flair to them, but they are steamed till al dente. And then that way, when I roast them in the oven here for us, they're not going to take that long. So you could do that the day before, is steam them up, roast them the day of, which saves you a little bit of time. Also saves you some oven space if you only have one oven. But otherwise, if you've got time, roast them out, because they're even better if you just sit there and let them roast out. So what we're going to do is we're going to add vegetable broth to them to roast them. So I'm just going to put a little vegetable broth. So one thing to always remember is vegetable broth burns off really quickly. So it's not like when you used to cook with oil. So like when, I remember with my mom and stuff, we do like, I don't know, like caramelized onions, and, you could put the oil in it and you'd mix it all up and you'd go do some laundry, you'd come back, you'd walk around the block, and your onions are still simmering in the oil because it doesn't burn off as fast unless you've got it really high heat. So, but vegetable broth, you could do all that and walk back and it's starting to burn on your pan. So one thing I like to do is when I'm making things with vegetable broth, but I won't do it on this one, is I'll usually cut it with water. So I'll do like half vegetable broth or water, or just all water. And then that way it holds a little bit longer. But this recipe, one of the things when you're roasting it out, when you've got the vegetable broth in there, you can just actually just kind of, peek underneath the parchment paper and the aluminum foil, and then check and see if it's starting to burn off. Just add a little bit more vegetable broth. That's all you need to do. So then dried rosemary. So you could do fresh rosemary also. So, but easy to keep, of course, dried rosemary in your cabinets. So you just sprinkle that on. As much or as little as you'd like. A little bit of ground pepper, black pepper. And then parchment paper first. Oops, I dropped some. And then aluminum foil. That way you're keeping the aluminum away from your food, but it also gives that conductivity and stuff to start roasting everything out. So that's it. Going to go in the oven. So I've got the oven. So it says on the recipe 350, but I'm kind of going in between all recipes of the heat that I need. So right now I've got it on 380. So it's not going to take as long, and especially since they're already steamed, it's not going to take as long either. So I'm going to put them in the oven and get them ready. The nice thing about it too is like right before we get ready to bring them out and serve them, you can take the parchment paper and the aluminum foil off and then let them roast and kind of toast a little bit more, which is really nice. Nothing better than roasted rosemary potatoes that get a little crispy on the sides. But if they're all soft and you can't get them crispy, they're just as good. All right, so I can just get some stuff in the oven. Rainbow carrots. How many times do we go in the stores, never buy the rainbow carrots? They're absolutely beautiful. I mean, if you look at it, look at the colors of these. So you've got the purple, and if you actually slice into the purple, you can't really see it. I was trying to see if you could see it on this, but if you slice into them and you start like shaving them off and make like a sliced carrot salad, they actually come up and there's yellow on the inside of these. And then you've got some of the kind of like the beige white ones and the yellow ones, and they've got some of the purple on them and then the orange. So I did the same thing yesterday because they do take a while to roast up in the oven. But if you have the time, roast them 100% just right in the oven and don't worry about them. But I actually steamed them a little bit to al dente. So these are ready to go for me to add the vegetable broth. And if you think about this, these are things that you could make the day before. So instead of I always talk about this, that, when you're in, it's like Thanksgiving time and stuff, and everybody gets up real early on Thanksgiving morning. I remember my mom getting us up at like 6 a.m. And you were, back in that days, you were cleaning the turkey, you were doing all those things, you had to get everything ready. And it just seems like by the time it hit dinner time to sit down with everybody, you were exhausted. And so what I always say is if you've got things like this and you can make ahead of time and then just heat up, it's a great thing to do. Keeps the stress off of you. And cooking is about trying to alleviate the stress, not create stress for yourself. All right, so I've got these in here. So I'm not going to add any salt, but I've got the black pepper. Just add a little bit there. All right. And then I'm going to leave these uncovered. And so I'm going to put these in the oven and start getting these all roasted up. Two things down. All right. So let's go ahead and make the relish. And then I'll do that here in a second, but I'm going to get the mushroom and leek pie ready to go. So I have a question for you, Chef AJ. If you can ask the audience, what do they fix for their Easter holiday?
That's a great question. Guys, please type it in the chat. Those of you that celebrate, what do you fix and prepare for your Easter holiday? Go right now and I'll read the answers to Kelly. The purple carrots, I think, taste better. I don't know if it's psychological because it's my favorite color, but they do taste better to me.
Yeah, they are really good. We actually had a class probably about a month ago, and we had a rainbow carrot. It was, so we basically shaved the carrots. So they were just the raw carrots and shaved them down and put them into this big salad with arugula and dressing stuff. And so we had these long strips of the fresh carrots, and it had like the purple ones with the purple and the yellow. Oh my gosh, that was the most beautiful salads that we'd ever seen. Lots and lots of carrots, which are good for you. Of course, good for eyes, good for everything else. So let me grab the next dish. All right. So you can see all the different things we always talk about. Wouldn't it be nice if you're getting ready to make something and you've got everything that's all chopped up and ready for you to go. So it's like, yay, nice. But this is kind of things that I do the night before so that it's just easier to make the recipes and keep things going. So, all right. So we've got leeks. So let me talk a little bit about, let's pause this really quick. So leeks, I'll actually grab one because I can show you a little bit better. Leeks are wonderful. very much an onion flavor. Sometimes it depends on, and I think it's a lot of it has to do with the supply chain and things like that right now. Sometimes they tend to be really like almost too much, and it's like your eyes and you're crying, just like a really potent type of an onion. But these were really mild. One thing that you'll notice when you get them, I mean, there tends to be a lot of waste on the tips because you're not using that. This can be really, really tough to eat. So one of the things when you look at it, if you've got pieces that are coming off like this, just go ahead and peel them off. But when you do that, you'll notice, look at all the dirt. Leeks are something that keep a lot, they hold a lot of dirt. So when you're chopping them up, one of the things that you want to do is you can take the end piece off. And then if you don't want to have all the greens, you can cut it down to where it's just like about there. And then when you start chopping it up, you want to put it into a large, like a bowl like this. And then you want to just, once you start the slices, you want to just run water over it and just keep running. Or if you have like a strainer or something like that, you just want to keep, running the water over them, because even the slices, so even this white part and things like this hold dirt, especially when you get up into here. So one of the things I always do is like I slice up to here, and then you'll see this here where the leaves are here. I'll actually peel that off, and then I'll just keep chopping up. And so I'm trying to keep the really tough parts away. But then look at this, like I said, look at the dirt, lots and lots of dirt on these. So you can wash them really, really well. But the same thing is put them in a bowl and then wash your leeks again, because you will find, no matter what, even when you're chopping, that you're going to have little chunks of dirt. So I know dirt's not good, it's good for you. And there's a lot of people that say, leave the dirt on, but in a leek pie, I'd rather not have the dirt. So,
But some places like Trader Joe's, you can buy cleaned leeks, they
you
have
sure
them
can.
too. And I love those because they're not dirty.
Yep, if you can find them. That's what, we were having a hard time, like Sprouts and everything else did not have them this year. They were saying they were like, oh, well, sorry, we were supposed to get a truck in, weren't coming in. So Jerry finally found them, I think at Natural Grocers is where he found them. So yeah, but you can buy them already done too, which is really nice. All right, start this up. All right, so I'm going to put the leeks in. So just nice little thin slices. When they'll actually come apart, so you'll see that you can just kind of put them apart like this. But when you start stirring them up and saute them, that works too. If you don't have leeks, if somebody says, I don't want to do leeks, I don't want to have to go buy it, then you could just do, you can do, like your scallions, you could do like a white onion, you could do all kinds of different things. So you don't have to buy the leeks if you want to change it out just a little bit. This is about showing you different recipes, but then having you turn around and make it your own. Just kind of saute those up. Like I said, once you hit the spoon to the little circles, or if they don't come apart, you can just separate them. But it's going to give a nice, kind of a nice light onion flavor. Let those saute for a minute. So then if you look at that, so then we're going to add mushrooms. So it's your favorite mushroom, whatever you do. The button mushrooms look the best. This time I was going to do portobello, but they didn't look good. So like they'd been in the store a little too long. So what I did is I got the button mushrooms and then I just quartered. So I just wiped them down and then I quartered them up. So the nice thing about it is I'm not a mushroom fan. I will make things with mushrooms as long as they're ground up, but Jerry loves mushrooms. So I'll be eating everything around it and he'll eat the mushrooms. And so now they're big quartered, so I can actually find them. So mushrooms are not one of those things that I like. So if I made this pie just for myself, I would leave the mushrooms out and I would add all the vegetables. So it'd almost be like a pot pie type of a thing. That's the way I would do it. So what did everybody say for recipes that
That's the thing. They're saying traditional Easter meal, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Here's one: ham, mashed potatoes, carrots, peas, asparagus, not super fancy. Poor pigs. When did pigs become, pigs are the target for Easter, I guess, and turkeys are the target for Thanksgiving.
Yep. I remember way before, Jared and I'll throw out some dirt on us and stuff before we were, became plant-based and healthy and everything else. It was always the honey baked hams. They'll go to the store and stand in line with all these people and buy one. That's what we did years and years and years ago.
Well, they make a tofurkey for Thanksgiving. Can they make the equivalent in ham? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know there's stores now. So I know that I've seen restaurants and say, like I've been on diners, drive-ins and dives. So I've seen restaurants where they're making all kinds of like vegan vegan meat and things like that, where they've done the ham, they've done the corned beef and everything. I know it's loaded with a lot of oils and things to be able to get that texture, but it's interesting. I see everything. Like you go to the stores now and it's like, the whole section used to be a little, little boxes of tofu and a couple other things. And now it's like, there's like deli slices and I mean, you name it, it's out there. And then all the Beyond Beef. And I'm not saying that it's the healthy things, but there's tons of that out there. Stores are now starting to carry it because I think people are starting to ask for it. All right. So there's the leeks sauteing up. They smell really good. Too bad we didn't have, like as Chef Emerald used to say, smell-o-vision.
I
That would
wish.
be nice.
So leek is like in the alum family, right? Like in the onion and garlic family.
Yeah. But it's definitely like a lot of people are like, well, what is it? What does it taste like? And it's definitely taste, it's got that, and I'll just grab a piece. It's definitely got the flavor of a really light onion flavor, but it's a really nice flavor. So it's not overpowering. Like sometimes if you get the onions right now, they tend to be a little bit overpowering. Not these are really nice. But like I said, stay away from the really thick green part, because what it'll end up being is really chewy. You'll just sit there and chew on it. So one thing I have seen people do though, and I haven't done it just because I use leeks every once in a while, but not all the time, is they will take this and dehydrate it and then they grind it up and they just have basically like leek powder. And I'm like, well, that's good. It's like kale stem powder and leek powder and things like that. So they can just add it to their soups for taste and not have any waste.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's got to have the big dehydrators in your house though. So I have one in the basement. All right. So now we're going to add the mushrooms. So the mushrooms are all quartered up. And this is a pound. So this is one of the big boxes of mushrooms. So you can get in the store, get the little 8 ounce, got the 16 ounce. So that's everything that's covered up here. Then we've got the herbs. So dried mixed herbs, you could actually use like the Italian spices. So we've got, Savory Spice here in town, and they ship everywhere. They have like the Italian herbs. So they have a lot of the different flavors that you would want within them. You could use that. Or if you have like all your different spices, I started out, I would say when I first started, probably when Jerry and I met, but probably even before that, I probably had like 5, 6 spices because that's what I grew up with. And now I probably have over 250 spices. So anything and everything and extra, I can keep everything full. I use a lot of spices now, which is really good. I don't overspice things, but just enough where it gives you the flavor. So in here, I've got a teaspoon of, and this is everything, rosemary, thyme, and basil. Smells so good. And so the cool thing about it is you get rosemary here, rosemary roast potatoes. So add those in. And this is another thing that you could mix up. You could say, you know what, I'm not a big fan of rosemary, but I like basil and I like thyme and I'd like to put something else in there. So think about when you're making this. So maybe you make it the first time this way, but then when you come around and you decide that you want to add some other things to it, like the little roasted potatoes or something like that. Add different spices to it. So you could almost make it like Mediterranean. You could make it Spanish. There's all kinds of things that you could do with this pie. So if your vegetable broth burns off a little bit, and it did, just add a little bit of vegetable broth or water. And the reason why is because your mushrooms, they're going to put out a lot of moisture. So you want to make sure you don't have too much moisture. You just mix it up real quick, and then I'll show what it looks like. Got leeks hanging on. Already starting to look good. It's got a really nice, a smell to it and stuff because you got that rosemary and thyme. Thyme was not one of a spice and stuff that I used for a long time, but now I love it in soups and all kinds of different dishes. It just gives that extra pop and I love it. Dill's another one. I use dill in lots of different things. Love anything that's like a potato soup with lots and lots of dill. So what's your favorite? So Chef AJ, what's your favorite dishes and stuff for Passover then?
Gosh, I don't even celebrate Passover, but what the same thing. Doesn't matter what the holiday. But, you know, I did love something called not haroset. Yeah, haroset. It's this thing you put on the matzah, and it's like, it's basically, well, they make it with wine, but you don't have to. And it's like shredded apples and cinnamon and walnuts, and it's really good.
That sounds good.
It's
I think
really,
anything with walnuts and cinnamon, all those kind of things is good.
yeah, really
Oops.
good.
I
So
was
I
talking
would
so
like
much, I
that.
forgot the garlic. So let me add the garlic in.
I mean, even when I wasn't vegan, I never really liked gefilte fish. It was so like, it had this gelatinous weird stuff on it. And, you know, I don't know. The only thing I really liked was something called simmis. And I hope somebody will make it on my show. It's simmis in Yiddish means a big deal, because it was a big deal to make, and it did have meat in it. But what was good about it was the roasted carrots and parsnips, and it had prunes in it. And it was really delicious.
Yeah. Parsnips, rutabaga, all those, like if you just do like chunks of roasted vegetables and you've got, you know, big chunks of onions and all that, there's nothing better. I mean, especially when they get almost like caramelized and they're like candy. To me, I think they're some of the best things out there. So yeah, I love any of those kind of things. All right, so I'm just going to do this for just a couple of minutes, just kind of saute up. If your mushrooms don't give you a lot of moisture, and sometimes they don't, then feel free to always just add a little bit more vegetable broth.
Kelly, what's the favorite vegetable of a urologist?
My favorite vegetable, what?
What's the favorite vegetable of a urologist?
Let me think about this for a second, and I won't get it. I don't know.
Leek. Ba-dum-bum.
You are so good about having all those little things like that. Somebody tells me a joke or something, it's like right gone.
That's funny.
Love it. Leeks. Leeks and depends.
Well, that would be a good answer. Depends. Yeah.
Put that
Ooh,
there.
yeah, Colleen's mentioning the green bean casserole. Remember that green bean casserole?
Oh,
that
yes.
people used to make with a can of Campbell's condensed cream of mushroom soup, and they put the fried onions on it. That was delicious.
Yes. And you can actually still make the green bean casserole, because there's like, you can get just like the mushroom soup that doesn't have, it's like mushrooms, but it doesn't have all the milk and products and things like they used to. So they have a couple brands out there that you can do that, or you can actually just chop up your own mushrooms and make this kind of like that little bit of the white sauce or the bechamel sauce with it. Same thing. And then you don't have to do the fried onions. You can take onions and coat them like with panko and put them in the oven and bake them. So you can get really much the same type of thing. I've actually made it a couple times I think I've done it like Thanksgiving and I think it was more Thanksgiving time and stuff a couple times. Because Jerry's, you know, back in the days, that was one of his favorite things to eat. So you can make your own. You just have to, you know, do a little bit more chopping with your mushrooms or buy them already sliced, and away you go. So it's not too bad. But definitely not all the fried stuff. And sometimes I remember the green bean casserole. I think I was like, this was like 15, 16 years ago. Somebody put bacon in it too. Or like their scalloped potatoes had layers of bacon. And I was like, oh, that's too much. But a lot of people like that. They're starting to cook down. I'll show you real quick. Really nice thyme rosemary smell. Ready? All right. So we'll add the green peas. So these are just regular frozen green peas. They hold up really well in just about any dish. I would say that every time I make like a vegetable stew or anything, first ingredients usually is peas that go in it. So peas and corn, I think that's my upbringing from Kansas. It's peas and corn. That seems like was the main, I think those were probably the main vegetables we had all the time. Once in a while, it would be canned carrots or those French green beans in the can, which I can't handle anymore. But mine favorites are like the frozen type of peas and carrots. Let me grab everything else off of here. Let's get this out of the way. All right, so let's go ahead and make, while this is cooking here, we're gonna go ahead and make the pistachio relish. So let me grab the dish. So raw pistachios. So just chopped up. And a lot of times and stuff, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, you know, you look at pistachios and it's, you know, it's a higher fat type of a nut. So if you don't want to do pistachios, do almonds, do, you know, whatever nut that you have. And if you have it, especially if you keep them like in the freezer, just grab something out and maybe do a mixture of them. But pistachios, You know, it used to be one of those ones that's like $7.99 a pound for raw pistachios that are in the shell. And then it's like $18.99 a pound for ones that are already shelled. And you're always like, well, I'll get the ones. And then you sit there and you're, trying to get the pistachio out of the shell. It's a lot of work. So, definitely buy, because you're not going to use that many. Just go ahead and buy them right out of the shell if you can find them. So just add those in. And that's something I have to keep away from Jerry, because Jerry loves pistachios in any form. So if he would have known that these were sitting here, he would have been picking at them already. So we have to keep them away. So one thing on the carrots. So I went to look for the carrots, the rainbow carrots, and they usually have the really long green stems with them. Like you can get those little carrots. None in the stores anywhere. So I'm not going to be using the carrot tops and stuff in this. So we're just going to make it without, the kind of the parsley carrot tops, just because we couldn't find any. So, but we'll do everything else. So then I've got mint leaves. So fun little mint leaves. This is something that you can grow out in your yard. So instead of having to purchase it, but be careful with mint out in your yard, because you're like, oh, mint and basil and everything. Mint will start here, and then it goes here, here, and it's all over your yard. So I'm just going to add in some mint leaves. So I would recommend mint in a pot, away from any ground. And if you have extra mint, there's so much you could do with it. So you could do like, mint water, mint teas, mint everything. So we're not going to use a lot of mint for this. So definitely going to be using the mint for other things. And you could also, if you do a fruit salad for Easter, so if you got, you want to have like a fruit, like a great fruit salad for everybody to start with, you could use the mint in that too. Great ways to get rid of it. But in fresh water on the table, mint leaves floating in it, beautiful. Couple slices of pineapple, great water. All right, so we've got the mint leaves in there. Then we've got the scallions. So lots of greenery. All right, and then we've got lemon zest. I got to go find my microplane. My microplane has disappeared that I absolutely loved. I think I took it for a class, and so I think it's hidden in all my utensils downstairs somewhere. So that'll be my job today, is to go look for it. Okay, lemon zest. All right, those are just about done. And then lemon. Get my fancy little, never had one of these before, bought them for a class one time, my cooking classes, and then I kept one off to the side. These are really nice. Love these things. All right, so got a tablespoon of lemon juice. So that's about a half of a large lemon. This, same thing. Slice it up, put it in with the mint, put it in with some pineapple, put it in the water. No waste. Or if you have a grape flavoring for, like I say, you have water and then a grape flavoring for your drink that doesn't have sugar and things like that in it, add some lemon, squeeze some lemon into it, and it's like a grape lemonade. Wonderful. One of my favorites. Okay. Not going to add the black pepper since I already added black pepper to the carrots.
Here's a question, and it's a good question from Susie. How do you keep everything warm and have it all out at the same time? I struggle with serving big family dinners, and this year we are hosting.
How do you keep everything warm? That's the hard part. So there's different ways to do that. So they have there's the crock pot family that has, like these different things that they're like warmers that you can put together, which are really nice. But then the problem is you got to store it somewhere. So a lot of times what you end up doing is thinking about like making sure that things that are on your table are ready to go, things that you don't have to heat up. And then the last minute stuff kind of bring things out. But the only other, like I said, only thing is you get some of those warmer plates, or making sure that if you've got something, make sure it's covered. So like putting the lid back on it, which keeps it warm. But it's tough. It's especially if you've got a really, really big family, you end up having things that are not as warmed up. So But I've seen those little crock pot things. They're really cool because you can put, you know, different things on them and just have it like here on your counter. So like your gravies and your things like that need to keep warm. And then you can kind of put it like in the middle of the table. People can help themselves. And those are really fun. But like I said, you have to store them somewhere. There's also like little fondue dishes that you could do also. I have one that a lady gave me, and it's probably about that big and it has a nice lid on it. So if I do something like I've made like one time I made like a cheese sauce for that was of course potatoes and carrots and red bell peppers and all that mixed together and I put jalapenos in it for like one of our cooking classes. Like we had a community dinner, and that I just kept warm in a just kind of like a chafing dish type of a thing. So chafing dishes are good too, but you got to buy them and store them. Okay, so there's the relish. So really pretty. So you've got kind of the purple of the pistachios. You've got, you know, all the greens. You've got the lemons. You've got the mint. So you've got a little bit of sweet, a little bit of sour. So all that umami, all those good flavors and stuff. That's what we're going to put on the carrots to decorate them. So I'm going to put that off to the side. Just kind of give it a quick stir every once in a while, just to make sure that lemon's kind of massaged in. But other than that, I'm going to move this off to the side. All right. Now I'm going to do the white sauce. So what we're going to do is so if you're kind of following along on the directions, so we got a little bit of vegetable broth. Then we're going to add the flour. So this is just a whole wheat flour. Grab your whisk. Always make sure you have your whisk ready, because anything you do with flour and moisture, you've got to make sure that you stir it up really well. So let's stir that up. Just a little bit at a time. You could also add it all into a mason jar and shake it up. That's what my mom used to do when she was making the roux for the gravy. This is always good underarm work. So who needs Pilates, right? When you got a little bit of flour making a roux. If it gets really thick, add just a little bit more vegetable broth, because then we're going to add a little bit of moisture to it with the milk. So non-dairy milk. If it starts getting too thick, just do what I'm doing. Just take it right off the burner. Keep mixing it in. Last of the mixing in. Okay, now we're going to add in the non-dairy milk. So I'm just using soy milk. You could use milk, oat milk, almond milk, cashew milk, everything and anything out there. Make your own. Because I know Chef AJ, don't you have one of the Nutri-Milk machines?
Yep, you can make oat milk. You can make just about everything.
Yeah. Those are really cool machines. So since I'm using the whole wheat flour, you know, white sauce, if you use the white flour, like a regular white flour, like Bob's Red Mill and stuff, you're going to get more of a white color to the sauce. But since I'm using the whole wheat, I'm getting a little bit more beige, which is okay. That's all mixed in. Okay, we'll get this heated up. So this is going to be our thickener. So this is going to be so like when you make like a pot pie or something like that, you have that really creamy sauce on the inside. That's what we're making here. This is what's going to go in the mushrooms. All right, so let me pull this off to the side. So puff pastry, there is vegan puff pastry out there. You have to find it. It's usually by Pepperidge Farm. And then you can also, if you can't find it, the other thing that you can do is you can just put it, you can just put like make your own like whole wheat crust and then put that on top. So it comes in little packs like this. So one of the things, depending on, because I'm going to put it on a pie sheet, and it's actually rectangle. If you think about it, you've got edges where it'll mix or where it will set and other edges where it won't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can actually just, you can grab like a cup and then just kind of roll it like that. But I'm going to actually, since it has a lot of the flour on this side, I'm going to flip it really quick. And then I'm just going to give it a nice roll because I want it a little bit bigger than with the size that it comes. So this one is actually going to go back in the freezer. I don't need two. And the nice thing about it too is the more you roll it out, then you don't get those big old clumps of like dough. And that's something that I don't prefer either. So it's kind of nice to not have the big chunks of dough once it puffs up. Just kind of flip it all sides. And so then, much better. All right.
How's your little doggy?
What was that? I'm sorry.
How's your little doggy?
Doing good. Georgie's great. My little Havanese.
Does Jerry work at home?
Do what? I'm sorry.
Does Jerry work at home?
Yes, and I do too now, though.
Oh, because I was going to say, because Havanese they call them Velcro, because Bailey's half Havanese and they call them Velcro dogs because they do not like to be out of your sight very long.
She loves it. And it's like, animals, they age so fast. And it's, it's like so much faster than us. And so it's like it seems like that 15 years, 16 years, 17 years, however long that you can get to live with your, the babies, as I call them, is so nice. And so to be able to be home now and working from home. So when they gave us that choice after COVID and said, hey, would you like, I think 99% of the staff said working from home. So it's so nice to be able to spend time with her. And I also got Penny, the Norwich Terrier. It's nice to be able to spend time with them and be able to just like hang out and things because you just see like the changes, but then you get to see everything with them versus them, sleeping at home. And then you come home, they're excited. And then about 3 hours later, you're going to bed type of thing. So I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Kathy Hester is in the house. She has a show here on the first Wednesday of the month. And she says there's a vegan gluten-free puff pastry by Char, but it's hard to find.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find usually if you can't find them in the stores, you can find them on Amazon. So that's sometimes the places I've gone is Amazon to get things. Just because it's that, like I said, it's the whole supply chain that's still going on. That one time you can find it in the grocery store, next time you can't. So now I'm going to just add the nutmeg. So nutmeg is always good in like, bechamel sauces and white sauces. It gives just a little bit of kick of flavor. And you're kind of like, you'll taste it and you'll be like, and people will try it and they'll be like, what is that flavor? And it's usually nutmeg. Just add that in. And that off. So just a nice, so it's not thick, but it's nice enough and stuff that it's creamy. So there we go. And the nutmeg smells, it almost smells like something you could drink, like you're drinking like a latte or something with the nutmeg in it. All right, so. Unplug this because I'm not going to need it. Get the noise gone. Add the sauce into it. Add a little water to the dish, the pan. All right. Peas. Don't forget the peas. And then I'll show you what it looks like before I add it in. And I put this together. I get leeks that wrap around the spoons. Okay. So if you think about it, it looks just like a pot pie mixture before you're getting ready to put it in and make the pot pie. All right, so. Put that in there. And see the green peas, they just add such a pretty color. It's like spring, Easter.
As long as they're green, there's nothing worse than gray peas. Have you ever seen those?
Uh-uh.
No, it's like when people cook them too long, they turn gray.
Oh yeah, my mom used to do that. She would do the oh, what am I trying to say? She would make it and she'd sit there and she'd put like the cream peas, and then it would end up being like this, like the weird color, and then it would be so mushy. Ugh. So this is where you can actually take this off, but I want to get this in the oven. So if you've got the corner pieces, just kind of go in, take those off. You could actually use those for something else. Keep them in the freezer, use them another time. Even it out. And so then kind of go in. You can do the little pie thing. If you don't, if your grandmother didn't teach you or your mom didn't teach you this, then, as far as like pinching the crust, then just use a fork, go all the way around. It's just as pretty either way. My mom used to make homemade apple pies and cherry pies, and we had cookies all the time. If you got a little extra dough, just roll it up underneath. You could actually put this in a cast iron pan and serve it in the cast iron pan if you wanted to do that. Okay, so there's the crimping. And then what you want to do is you want to do a crisscross. So you've got a knife that you're cutting through the, you're almost doing it like, makes it look like a lattice apple pie. Have you made your apple pie since?
I make my apple pie all the time. I love
It
it.
is good.
Yep.
And this is to give it to where the puff pastry can actually rise and get all nice and crispy, but then you've got all the steam of the vegetables that are going to come through also. So you want to make sure you have that. Okay, so now I'm going to get this in the oven, all ready to go. Well, actually, one other thing. So I don't know what happened to my whisk or my actually, so I'm just going to, not my whisk, but my, what am I trying to say? What is it called? I'm blanking.
What, you trying to think of the word for a whisk?
Pastry brush. Duh. I had to look it up on my recipe. So I don't know what happened to my pastry brush either. I think it went to one of my cooking classes. So I'm just going to use a spoon, and I'm just putting some of the soy milk on top for browning. Used to be like, a lot of times and stuff, people would put like an egg mixture. So that just kind of keeps it a little bit soft. And there we go. Going to go in the oven. It's sticky fingers.
Lavanda's saying hot plates are a great way to keep things warm.
Yes. You got to have a lot of hot plates, or you got to have smaller dishes. My mom used to have ones that were about this big. And it's the same thing, though. It's the same thing like your crock pot things. You've got to have a place to store it. So if you got a big basement, great, put it in with your Christmas decorations and everything else. But those are really nice. But these two, like, so the corners that I cut off here, if you had, some different vegetables, or you had a little bit extra because you made too much, you could actually roll it up and kind of make almost like little pot pies or empanadas. So there's something to do with the corners, but I'm going to put this off to the side. Put these away. All right, let's check our time. I'm going to turn the oven up a little bit. So it took a little bit longer.
Do you have the Ninja Creamy, Kelly?
I don't. I have been looking at those because I saw some of your shows that they were offering those.
They have there's another 12 hours for a 22% discount, which takes it down about $50. It's really cool because they have a big size now, which I appreciate because the little one only made a pint. This makes a pint and a half.
Nice. I've seen it. We've seen it on Jerry and I've watched it because, anything like, mango sorbet or any of those kind of things like that, we love. The only thing that because I had the first, remember there's the Ninja blenders, the little ones like this. I had one of the first one. I think it only lasted like, I don't know, a month or something before. So it's kind of like one of those ones. It's like, well, do I get it? Do I not get it? But I've heard really, really good things about it. So you're saying it's great?
I love it. And Kathy Hester, who's watching, loves it, developed a whole course around it. What I
Saw
like
that.
about it is number one, it's the only machine that so far makes it scoopable and not soft serve. And two, like if you don't finish, you put the pint back and then you can respin it, whereas you can't do that with the Vitamix or anything else.
So what have you made? So what have you made in it?
Well, I'm pretty boring. So I do a lot of one ingredient things. I do banana, I do mango, oh, you can put in applesauce and it makes apple sorbet. What I
That
like
would
to
be
do is
great.
I like to make my date shake recipe and put in a coffee powder that's not really coffee. It's called Say Me, and then it tastes like chocolate ice cream. I'll make that. I'll make some of Kathy Hester's recipes, but usually I just do, oh, the can of pineapple. You take 1 can of unsweetened pineapple Dole or any brand, and you put it in and you make Dole Whip.
I've heard that.
It's pretty
That's
extraordinary how easy it was. So I tend to make the easy ones. No, it's not like a Vitamix at all. I mean, a Vitamix is a great blender, but it does not make scoopable, realistic ice cream.
yeah.
Trust me.
I have seen that. I saw that where I think that's the one that was like, ooh, that sounds really good, like the pineapple and just putting it right in there, and mixing it up and all that. So I used to have one of those. You remember those the ice cream makers, not the ones where you sit there and done this, but what was it by Breville? And you had to freeze the container and then
Yeah.
and then it would just sit there and kind of spin and make the
Yeah.
ice cream.
This takes 2 minutes and 17 seconds once the container's frozen. So it's pretty
That's
awesome.
nice. That one, the Breville would take an hour.
I
And
know.
and then it's like, oh, I was going to make something. I forgot to put the container in the freezer. And then you took freezer space and all that. So yeah, that's nice to know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Stephanie says, could you freeze it at this point and just take it out and bake it at a later date?
Yes, you sure could. And I'm assuming you're meaning the pie.
Yeah, I think so. That's when it came in.
That back there. All right, carrots, roasted carrots. Let me get these out. And you can buy, like I was looking for the little roasted carrots, because like a lot of times and stuff, you'll find them that are about this big. But like I said, in supply chain, not so much this time. I'm gonna kind of mix the colors a little bit. You see there's already a little bit of, so you got the little bit caramelization of the carrots. Hot. Gonna keep them all together. This one's my favorite. Look at that. With the purple on it. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, Jackie's talking about borscht. Some people eat it for Passover or Easter. We haven't had borscht on this show, I don't think. You know what borscht is, right? Beet soup. Cold.
Beets.
And it's cold. It's cold. Oh, you don't like beets? Yeah, some people don't like beets. My husband's one of them. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Your husband and I can hang out, because anytime anybody puts beets in anything, like if they're like, oh, roasted vegetables at, in restaurants or something like that, I'm like, have beets in it. And they're like, oh no. And I'm like, the minute you put them in front of me, I can smell beets from a mile away. I'm like, oof. Beets and cilantro is another one.
Wow.
I'm not a cilantro fan. Neither's Jerry though. Only the last two. Penny, our Norwich Terrier, loves carrots.
Wait, you have two dogs? I've only seen the Havanese.
Yeah, she's around here somewhere. I think she's sleeping. Okay, so you got the roasted carrots. Then you put the relish. I always like to add a little bit of microgreens because they're so good for you. There's that. Let me grab the potatoes.
This is a veritable feast, my friend.
I'm hoping I can didn't realize I took as long to get everything going. So there's the rosemary roasted potatoes, really hot. All right, I'm gonna do it a different way. Let me grab a big spoon. The glass dish is like blistering hot. I'm dumping them everywhere. They smell so good. Hot, hot dish. All right, chives. Always pull out the ones that are you don't need. Dishes always, they're always so much prettier when you add greenery to them, especially when you're getting ready to serve them.
Why are chives so expensive? You ever notice that?
They are, and they shouldn't be, because if you ever grow them in your backyard, that's another one. They're just like mint. The minute you start one plant, and they're absolutely beautiful. I bought some. This is our other house before we moved here, but our other house had, and they had the big purple blossoms on them, and they're so pretty when they bloom out. Problem is when that blossom dries, the seeds go, and then all of a sudden in your yard everywhere. Remember, Jerry, in our yard we had purple chives everywhere. I was constantly ripping them up, and then I'd freeze them or keep them or something like that. But every time I turned around, I had chives everywhere. So I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they just don't last very long or what's going on with them, but they're really hard to find too. That's another one that is supply chain. The other thing that I'm going to add just for pretty is I'm going to have some extra grape slices, and then I'm going to check the pie. I always like to, when you make food, it's all about that. I always call it eye candy. If it looks good and people are like, ooh, and they want to dig into it, they will. There we go.
How can people find out about all your cooking classes, and are they instructional or are they hands-on?
So it depends. So we actually are in a community now. So we've been having a clubhouse, and we have cook with me, and then I have demo. So demo is kind of getting everybody ready for, this is what the food's going to look like. And it was kind of funny because a lot of people said, we're getting to the age where we don't want to cook anymore. So it's nice to come and come to your classes and get that homemade meal. But they all are on our meetup site. So it's Denver Healthy Vegan Cooking Classes, and it's meetup.com. And then it's also on my site, which is Plant-Based Kitchenista. And so we have classes, and we also do our Zoom classes where it's just like what I'm doing here twice a month. All right, let me grab and see what the pie is looking like. Oh, it's got about another minute, and then it's ready. So now I got chives coming out of the box, and chives, that's one thing, and maybe that's why, I don't know why they're, like I said, you can get their dime a dozen to buy, but they are very expensive, like $2.99 a box. So I'll have to look it up and see why they're so expensive. It must be a supply chain thing. I'm tired of supply chain stuff. I don't know about the rest of you guys.
That's just what they say now, even if it's not true. That's like, oh, it's a supply chain.
They do that. It's like, well, we can't get it at the grocery store, so we're gonna have to charge you more. I don't know if all of you guys have noticed and stuff going to the grocery store now. I mean, it's like you walk out and everything, of course, is $200 for a basket, and you're like, okay, well, I got home and I still got to go buy stuff next week. It's crazy the amount of cost of things. It's a lot. All right. Starting to drip. So one of the things I'd probably recommend, because it's doing it here in mine, that what I would recommend is, see if that's cool enough now. I would recommend probably putting it on a tray, unless you want to clean up some drippings in your oven, which nobody likes to clean ovens. Probably could use about another 5 minutes, but I know I don't want to keep you longer.
We don't mind if we can see the finished product.
Yeah, it's really, really close. Okay, hold on. Because I just spilled some. So if I lean over, I'm going to have mushroom pie all over my vest. So get that out of the way. Okay. So roasted carrots, pistachio relish. Doesn't that look beautiful?
Yeah, and delicious.
Rosemary roasted potatoes. Like I said, these are like poppers. These are so good. You just grab. So if you just grab one, look at that. And the rosemary is infused in there. So good. Who needs butter, sour cream when you have these? Okay, last. There is, so this is the mushroom leek and pea pie. So like I said, I'll probably put it in for just a little bit longer, but there it is ready to go. Doesn't that look great?
And not
So
only
if you want to add for beauty, and of course I threw these back over here. Where you serve it. You also, if you wanted to add some decorations, like when you're making, so back when we were making all the pies and things like that, you could have added like little leaf designs on it. Make it real pretty that way. All right. There's my mess. So mushroom leek and pea pie. So it's got a puff pastry top. So it's going to be just like, it's just going to be eaten just like a pot pie. And then you've got your roasted rainbow carrots with a relish. I put a little bit of grapes in there just because they're pretty and it adds the purple. And I know you said purple was your favorite color. And then I got the rosemary roasted potatoes. So this is going to be our Easter feast, but actually for now it's going to be our lunch. So Jerry's salivating already and going to figure out like what's his and then what he's going to hide in the back of the refrigerator so he can eat it again tomorrow. That's what he does. So
people don't realize unless they've taken your class or eaten your food, what an extraordinary talent you are. Because I've tasted your food and you make just like a simple sweet potato. Like, I don't know, you are magical. You're like an undiscovered talent because I know you have a full-time job and you don't get to promote yourself like other people. But I want people to know that if they live anywhere near you, they've got to try your food because you're just one of the best chefs. Your food is so good.
Thank you.
But it's so
thank you so much.
I've eaten it. I mean, I'm not saying you made me like even you gave me some cherry tomatoes. It's like everything that you touch turns to delicious.
I remember we were picking you up at the airport and we had a bag of cherry tomatoes. We're like, here you go. And you're like, I'm going to eat these on the way back. Yeah,
I mean,
they were
your
gone.
food is so good. I just wish, I wish you didn't have to work so you could just like open a restaurant or a food delivery service. Seriously, you're such a talented chef. So I hope people try the recipes because you really know what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I so much appreciate that. Makes me feel good.
Yeah. And well, you are that good. And we know that the next couple of shows, you've already talked about what you're going to make. You've got an Italian theme coming up and I forget what the second
Thai food. Yep. Thai food coming up. Yep. And Jerry gets to benefit from all of it. He's a very lucky man.
He is he does not know how lucky he is. I mean, I want a wife like you, honestly, seriously, that would be everybody needs one of you. Thank you so much, Kelley. I really enjoy watching.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I actually had somebody in one of my cooking classes said, if I win the lottery, would you come live in my house and do all the cooking? And Jerry's like, well, what about me? And she goes, no, just Kelley.
Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious.
I was like,
Yeah, it's really because I just was so happy that you wanted a monthly slot because your recipes are so delicious.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I enjoy being with you. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's it. Do you think you'll ever do a conference again? I know you produced a couple of those wonderful plant-based summits.
We've talked about it. We definitely have to figure out because you know just as well as we do. The conferences are very, very expensive, and so everybody's just starting to travel and those things like that. So. I always because I was getting ready to start that where it's all cooking conference. So it was like a 2-day
That's
but
really
that
difficult.
COVID hit and couldn't do
Yeah.
that. So
You,
those are
you
other
know,
things
it's
that we're
funny that
looking
you
at.
said that because I participated in the very last, what was it called? Celebrity Chef Weekend that Dr. McDougall did in 2009. And that was an extraordinary weekend, but it is so hard when you do that. But talk to me offline, because I agree with you, having done 20 conferences, but I know a way you can do it that won't be as expensive, but you know, you won't be able to do it as extravagantly as you have. But I have an idea for you if you want to
Love it.
give me a jingle.
Would love it.
Because you are just like, you're so good at what you do. Thank you so much. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
helping out.
Thank you. Bye. Love you guys.
Take care. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow for Goodbye Lupus with Dr. Brooke Goldner. Have a great day, everyone. And don't forget, you have until midnight to get that Ninja Creamy for almost $50 off. Bye-bye.